I want to just really touch upon the fact that Steve made in the comment section just a moment ago about Kroos and Modric. Nigel, I'll get your point in just a moment, but JJ, I'm coming to you first. Are we starting to see the end of their careers? Should Real Madrid start to move on? We see Camavinga, we see tchouameni sitting on the bench. We see a lot of youngsters waiting for an opportunity. Should Real Madrid move on from these two oldies?
I mean, I think when we're considering sort of the succession planning, I think we can probably feel a bit more confident about tchouameni than we can about Camavinga at this moment in time. Obviously, we know Camavinga has that potential. I don't think he's quite delivered on it. Certainly not, to the same level as tchouameni, and Nigel, I know, can attest to that. But I think something that's really strange about the Real situation in the midfield. I mean, we know that Modric is probably going to play on for maybe a year or two more, but Kroos seems to be kind of up in the air about it. There's been a lot of speculation about it. It's basically like he's decided he's either going to retire at Real Madrid or he's going to stay on and play a little bit longer. To me, that's a bit weird. If you're already even thinking about retirement coming soon, I don't understand why you might be open to playing on for another year. Because if you, at the end of the day, if you don't have that intensity, and let's be realistic. Toni Kroos is a serial winner, has won so much at both club and international level. There's not much left for him to prove, if anything, in the game. But equally, at the same time, if his hunger has gone to the fact that he's not been playing for Germany now at international level for a couple of years, and is not necessarily motivated by what's going on at Real Madrid, I think Real Madrid should take that decision for him. Don't action any potential contract extension. If he wants to go back to Germany, finish his, I believe he's a boyhood Werder Bremen fan. Is that it? Something like that. Maybe go and, finish his playing days there, something like that. I think that would be a nice touch to the end of his career. Personally, for me, it would be a shame to not see him go back to a Bundesliga side for at least one more season. But, each to their own in their playing career. But if it's even on Kroos's mind to potentially retire, then I think that's when Real Madrid should step up, this changing of the guard in midfield, because we know that it will happen for Luka Modric at some point in the next year or two. But, I think for Toni Kroos, if it's, even in his mind, the idea to potentially retire, then that suddenly has to be, made a priority by Real Madrid, because that's the kind of thing that could ultimately catch them out. I mean, look at what's happened with Liverpool, with the importance of, keeping things fresh in that midfield. Their season has, completely fallen apart. I'm not going to blame it entirely on the midfield. Obviously, there's a lot, for Jurgen Klopp to answer to in terms of his demands of the players and certain other areas of the team as well. But, when there's one position where you're not quite sure whether you've got the right mix of players, whether you need to make a greater investment, I think Kroos has to be much, much clearer with his intentions. And if retirement is even on the horizon for him, then I think that's probably going to be it at the end of the season for him and Real.
This is why footballers don't like people in the press. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Jonathan Johnson just putting a big knife in Kroos's career in the back there. Like,
well, look, Kroos isn't going to go ice fishing like you did for 2 games in Norway.
Mate, you didn't even stab him in the back. You just stabbed him in the front. Say, right, you're done. Up you go. All right. Anyway, for me, I disagree. I think for me, with those players, let's not forget Modric and Kroos. Modric came off the pitch in the Champions League to Liverpool to a standing ovation by the Anfield faithful. And they don't do that a lot for players playing on the opposite side. But he did it his age. I think personally, yes, you can't play them together because it just doesn't work in the modern game with the dynamic of what's needed, the energy, especially being in the injury room of a midfield. But you can play them off with either Camavinga or tchouameni. You can play one or the other. And I still feel they can offer a lot at that high level, depending on what the game needs, how the game is flowing, that they can still play a part for the next year. But playing them together, you can't do in this modern game. But for balance, for the experience and quality that they have, and the development of one of the young players, whether it's Camavinga or tchouameni, it can still work for another year or two, I personally believe.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. I think it's very difficult when you've had such success to break that up and just get rid of it, especially with the experience leading down to these youngsters that are around them that are simply getting better and maybe not ready. We see that from some of the comments that are coming in. Matt and Camavinga had some great moments, but is nowhere near ready. It's a fantastic comment to have right there. Real quickly, Nigel, who goes through in the second leg? Obviously, it's 1-0 going back to the Nou Camp. Who goes through from that tie?
I would say Barcelona.
1-0 down.
Barcelona go through.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to disagree with that. Obviously, Barca have the advantage. Real's, record in this competition isn't great. So yeah, I mean, I think that Barca can make it through, but to be honest, I think that Barca have to make it through now as well, especially after what's happened in Europe.
Ian,
Certainly.
you said it about the performance as well. You saw it yourself. Like the players just didn't look like they tried an arm or a leg. It was just another game for them. That you can see there's no priority in this cup competition for them. They're not interested in that, in my opinion.
I think the statistics don't lie, though, Nigel. As JJ
Yeah.
pointed out, it's 2014, 10 years since Real Madrid have been in the final of their own domestic competition. And clearly, you know, it's a big competition domestically for them, but how much emphasis do you put on it when you've got a Champions League and you're coming off a World Cup and it's a massive schedule that you're looking at? Do they really care? I mean, they've got to this point already, and they certainly have put effort to get to the semi-final, but today was a bit disappointing.
So what are they saving themselves for? They're saving themselves for the Champions League, basically.
Yeah, Champions League.
How much
Crazy.
long? I mean, going back to that debate about Kroos and Modric, and to be honest, it counts the same for Benzema as well. How many more years can they keep doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've got players in waiting already. They've got Endrick coming in. Obviously,
they've got players in waiting in midfield. I mean, Endrick, who hasn't scored a goal since like November or something like that, and he was crying about it on the bench.
He's a young lad.
I know he's a young lad, but I'm saying it's a lot of pressure to suddenly expect him to come and step in for Karim Benzema when he's going to be like 17 potentially by the time he joins Real. That is a lot of pressure to put on a youngster's shoulders.
Might not have a chance.
I just don't think that Real Madrid are a team that you can write off. I always give them credit for their recruiting.
I'm not going to write them off at all. I just feel like we've constantly been in this state the last couple of years of trying to guess how much of the last of the summer wine is left in that bottle.
Hold on,
and
wait. JJ.
I mean, you're the wine expert, Nigel. You of all people should know how much is left.
Between you our thing. Let me just say this though. Ian, is JJ a little bit upset or a little bit in his feelings because Barcelona have done the whole Galactico thing the right way and won things while Paris Saint-Germain have tried to do it, and all we're getting out of Paris Saint-Germain is a bit of a soap opera of Neymar and all them lot? Just buy them and just try and win it quickly, but it doesn't quite work. But Real Madrid.
But what if Barca won? But what if Barca won with their Galactico approach?
I'm talking about Real Madrid.
I mean, the funny thing was that the Real Madrid at the height of their Galacticos didn't win everything. They were expected to. So if anything, PSG should have learned from that lesson. No, honestly, if you're talking about sort of PSG and Real just for a moment, you can't compare the two. One's a footballing institution. The other wants to be a footballing institution, but is unable to at the moment. It's, it's just a fact. But, no, I don't think there's any sort of animosity towards it. No, I mean, honestly, it's just purely, out of curiosity, really, how much longer you can continue to bank on the same bunch of very, very experienced, fantastic players, because at some point, the curtain will fall, on their careers collectively. And if it falls at the same time, then I think Real Madrid risk having a very poor season, not necessarily this season, which admittedly by their high standards isn't great.
I agree, JJ. Let's just say this. Just buy yourself some wine, let it age for some years, and just watch Real Madrid continue to roll, all right? Because I'm just saw today one of my favorite players right now in world football is being linked with either Real Madrid or Barcelona. And I know which one I'll go to if I was in Cuica Carrasquelia. He'd already linked it in, so they know how to do it.
Didn't he say half his family is for Barca and then he's for Real or something like that?
Okay,
his dad
said probably Real. So they're going to keep doing it.
You got to leave it open somehow, JJ. I never know what can happen at the end of the day on the transfer market. You might as well say, hey, we've got our hand in both of the pies here.